And my passion always also derived from just helping people and just making sure people are in top form and always getting what they need. Whether it is assistance, whether it is guidance, whether it is, I always felt that I needed to make sure that there's a level of that for those around me. You start losing that drive and that determination, the courage, the passion, all those values and that models. And you just start becoming not complacent, but just comfortable. It's just making sure you have that faith, that guidance, that prayer, that people around you, because we cannot do this alone. And I think I realized that it can be done.
Our second guest from outside of Durban, from the beautiful city of Cape Town. And thank you for joining us.
No, not a problem. Excited to be on your podcast finally. As mentioned to you privately, I've been stalking you, so couldn't wait to get on here and just share my story.
Bro, if you're stalking me to tell us your story, then it's probably a story worth telling. So
nah,
can't wait to get into it, bro. But maybe before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
Maybe tell us about yourself and a bit about your background and where you're based and what you do.
Sure, 100%. Cool. So first and foremost, I'm a 28-year-old, turned 28 this year in February, and I've got two beautiful boys. I'm a married man to a wonderful, amazing lady, and I'm still a mother's boy or a mama's boy, if I can say it like that. I spend time with my mom and my dad as much as I can. Over the past couple of years, a lot of things have taught me that time is all you have with those closest to you.
That's good.
So yeah, they are basically my circle, and then my sister as well. She's basically my right arm, and she does everything with me. My background,
awesome.
for just a few of you, is I'm from Cape Town. I stay in Tableview. Recently moved here as well in Feb. Lovely place, but just very, very cold. So if you do decide to come down to Cape Town, make sure you bring a jacket. But
Take a jacket.
take a jacket, exactly. And yeah, went to school at a business school. So specifically, high school was tailored to business, and this is where this came from. And also wanted to pursue a career in football. That was my main goal. From grade 10, standard 8 for the older viewers. And that's like
standard
generally
8, bro.
I still speak like that to my parents. So yeah. Standard 8 for the older viewers. So I really wanted to push football, and I thought that was my wave, and that was where I was headed, until you get stopped and God just tells you, look, there's another direction for you. And since that day, I think I was 19 years old, where I just thought that I can't pursue a career in football because of multiple reasons. And I started an NGO. I co-founded an NGO with my best friend at the time at school. And we ran that for like 5 years. The NGO was focused on helping kids with talents, videography, photography, DJs, dancers, all of those things, helping them and giving them a platform to showcase those talents across South Africa. And, we did that for a good almost 5 years. Within that, seeing that it was an organization, we handed it about, our community project was called Kick and Grind. And Kick and Grind was for people that are less fortunate, don't necessarily have a decent pair of sneakers. If you go outside today, you might see a person on the road or doesn't have enough. They might not have a good pair of sneakers. They're walking barefoot, and we solely focused on trying to get as much good quality sneakers as possible. Look,
Wow.
if I tell you, there was Jordans, there was like Nikes, Adidas, better shoes than what I had at the time. We were basically giving away, and what that meant was, we could help somebody in a different way. rather than giving them money, giving them, just a sense of here's a loaf of bread. I think giving them a sneaker at the time was now you can stand up on your feet and actually move forward. So
That's
that was the
awesome.
sense of what we wanted to do. And that was a very successful project. We got big names across South Africa involved, big artists involved as well, and successfully handed out 7,000 sneakers across South Africa
That's amazing,
to
bro.
those less fortunate. And thank you. And that definitely took me into my passion of what I do now for people. I just feel that in this moment that we live in, people around us and everyone we surround ourselves with have become even more important because they look up to what you do and how you do things, and vice versa.
Mm.
You look up to what your parents do, what your close friends and then family does, and you either repeat it or you go a different way. So you're
Yeah.
always learning to better yourself.
Yeah.
That was basically the organization. We deregistered, or we deregistering that now after 2 3 years, and I've recently started I say recently 2 years ago, started Suitable Focus. You can see it on my cap, SF. And
Yes. Cool
what Suitable
branding, bro.
Focus is, oh, thank you. What Suitable Focus is basically a business now, not an organization, and I solely run it myself from a founder aspect with my team. Shout out everyone in the team that's listening to this.
Come on, well done,
Um,
team.
and what it is about is understanding the balance of growing entrepreneurship and also growing your brand from an individual point of view.
Okay.
Where this came about was after the organization, and sorry, I'm just skipping timelines here, but I'm sure you
Go
all
for
will
it,
gather
bro.
the flow. After the organization, I then went into the corporate world, and I really wanted to understand, before running my own business, I want to understand the nutty bolts of running an actual business for yourself. And I
Mm.
started at a color measurement company, where they literally measure the color of certain aspects, and it's a
Wow.
consistent thing.
So
And I used to sell that machines.
what were they coloring? I mean, what were they measuring the colors of?
So we basically used to sell, or I basically, I was the sales rep for Western Cape, and we basically used to sell machines that measure the color. So do you know Nando's sauce, the
Yes.
Nando's lemon and herb sauce? So
Yes.
we sold those devices to Nando's so they can consistently get that color of the sauces of what they want.
That's wild,
Um,
bro.
it was
Wow.
crazy. It was crazy. And the ironic part of it is I went into a color measurement company and I'm colorblind. That
Dude,
was
that
ironic.
is amazing. So
Um,
that's awesome. Well, I mean,
so that was
that's
quite funny.
you had the tools to help you, basically.
Exactly. It told
That's
me the
awesome.
color and there we go. So I kind of saw that as a boost. So
That's awesome, bro.
that's what I did for like 2 years, and it taught me a lot, resilience, and especially being in sales, you get the no's more than you get the yeses. And
Mm,
obviously in entrepreneurship, you get so much no's until you get that yes.
yeah.
Um, so that's what that taught me. And then I went into the field of marketing where I'm currently at now. So I hate saying this, and Luke, I spoke to you about it. In my day job, in my job at the moment, I am marketing manager of partner acquisition for EMEA and the UK at Redstor, a backup and cloud company that that resides in the UK, and I'm basically fully focused on the marketing functions on a day-to-day
Okay.
basis for those regions. Um,
Mm,
and it's taught me so much. I'm almost pushing 2 years next year, or 3 years next year at the company, and just
amazing.
again, my thank you, and my understanding of it was just to try and implement everything I'm learning, everything I'm gaining into Suitable Focus, right? Um, and push stability as much as possible, because at the time it was COVID, and stability is what I was looking for. And I found that within Redstor. It's a wonderful company. It's given me so much in terms of knowledge and experience, and I just want to
That's
keep
awesome.
growing in that aspect until suitable focus earns much more than them, and we can start having that
Yeah.
discussion. But
Yeah.
it's not even about that. It's just about understanding my role within Redstor at the moment, and that's purely marketing and connecting with people, understanding functions, and then from suitable focus point of view, there's no reference to what SF does and Redstore does, but it almost cohesively comes together because I get understandings from different components.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and that's my story in a nutshell. I hope that
Amazing,
wasn't
bro. No,
too much of a tongue twister.
no, that's great. So from what I picked up, the last 10 years for you, if I could say 10 years, has been quite
Yeah.
diverse. From leaving school through to starting an NGO, quite a
Yep.
successful NGO that made quite an amazing impact
Sure.
nationally,
Thank you.
and then moving into the corporate world, doing sales and then marketing. So there's
Yep.
two things I'd love to ask you. What were the two main, or what was the main difference that you have experienced
hmm
firsthand between doing sales and then doing
hmm
marketing? Because that's something that really does
Good.
intrigue me, and it's something that
Sure.
I'm quite passionate about too. With my clients too, and I see I feel like we sell a lot more than what we market, but we call it marketing. So
100%.
I mean, throw your 2 cents in, and let's see
Yeah.
where. Yeah,
And look, for the viewers, it's just my 2 cents. I'm no expert. I'm still very young in the game. So all the experienced women and men, please, it's just my 2 cents.
we're all on
From a
the
sales
we're
and
all on the
marketing,
learning boat.
there we go. From a sales and marketing shift, I think I I hate to use the word hate, but I disliked sales because of all the effort that you needed to put in just to convince somebody to get something that they need, um, that you see they need. People
Mm,
sometimes don't feel they need it in that moment, and just because I need to meet my pipeline, my targets, I need to convince you that in this moment, this is exactly what you need.
yeah.
From that perspective, I disliked it a lot because I think that's what I put down the phone for to this day. When a Vodacom or an MTN rep phones me and says, "Do you want a phone?" And I'm like, "I do not want a phone." And I understand it from that point of view because you need to meet your pipeline, your targets, all of those things.
Yeah.
Um, and you kind of feel disjointed from that person. Where actually on the other end, it's an individual, and that's what I dislike because I can't have a
Mm,
conversation with you to understand your needs. Yes, there's techniques and all of those things, but at the end of the day, my boss is going to ask me, "Have you signed off the deal?"
yeah.
Not about, "Did you find out about Luke's wife and his kids?" That doesn't
Yeah.
cut it in a business.
Yeah.
Um, that's definitely what I disliked at first. Um, and then what I liked a lot about sales is, might be contradictory, but I like speaking to loads of people.
Okay.
You get nuggets from so many people, even if they're saying no to you. You kind of understand different ways to speak to certain people and also dynamics on what people feel in different moments. So let me maybe put this into perspective. The first week of the month, people are like, or the first quarter, let's generalize. The first quarter, people are, yes, our budget is set. We have a budget for X, Y, and Z. We'll speak to you. We'll get it done. Okay, cool. Come fourth quarter, no, our budgets are depleted. There's no budget for it. And you kind of see the dynamic of, an individual on a high, and then that same individual 6, 7, 8 months later telling you in a very moody, gloopy type of way, unfortunately, we can't go ahead and purchase
Mm,
this device. Um, and that now determines how they feeling, and what
yeah.
they are representing. So
did you find that the sales process for you was quite invasive and
I did.
very in people's face? Yeah.
I did. 100%.
And did you struggle with that? I mean, did you struggle with that because you maybe have a specific personality type, or do you think you struggled with that for some other reason?
I think it's personality, definitely. I'm an introvert at first. And why I struggled with it is because I like making people feel comfortable before myself. And I think that's where the notion came in. So I'd make sure that Luke is happy, before I plummet you down with all my sales numbers, all my devices that I have to sell to you. And that was quite a downfall for me, because obviously you don't reach targets with being a nice guy.
No,
It's simple.
Not in the sales world.
Not at all. Not at all. So it was definitely my personality playing that role. And within that same company where I sold, color measurement instruments, I then operated their marketing as well. And just now shifting over to your question, the difference between sales and marketing for me, marketing is it's more me. I don't need to be an extrovert. I can let the content speak for me, on behalf of me. I can just, and everyone has this idea that marketing is just a couple of events and some ad boards. I wish it was. I really wish it was, but all the content that goes into it, all the understanding your personas, your audience, your people that the salespeople then goes and speaks to.
Yeah.
That's the joy of it for me, and that's why I'm really loving this position at Redstor, because it allows me to not only understand the individual that I'm speaking to through the salesperson, but also helps me understand the company and the company's stature and where they want to be and go, and if they fit the mold that we need for them now. So the difference between, for me again, sales and marketing for now is where sales I needed to push and push and push and get you to say yes. In marketing, I just need to be present and make sure my brand exists. My company exists, and eventually you'll purchase something that you need. And that's the difference for me.
Do you feel like people that you speak to and people that you see in the marketing game understand marketing as that, or do you? The reason I'm asking that is because I very often come across people who talk about marketing and say they're in marketing, but actually you're sales. Maybe you are marketing, maybe you are paid to be a marketer, but you're actually performing a sales role. And how would you, in your experience and what your perception is at the moment, how would you correlate marketing with the relationship building? Because I think those two go hand in hand. And how do you operate in that space with building relationships in the marketing sphere that you're involved in?
Sure. Ultimately, and just to answer that question directly, ultimately we are all salespeople and we are all marketers, even without us knowing.
Okay. Love that.
Ultimately, and I'll make that statement on my own opinion again. Why I say that is because interviews, the way we approach things, you need to sell yourself, right? And that's the sales aspect. When you go for an interview, you apply your CV, you make sure that you're on time, you're ready, and you offer your product, which is yourself, to a company, right? From a marketing aspect, you need to make sure your CV looks good, and you need to make sure that you are presented well on your LinkedIn profile from, what's being put out there, how you're putting it out. So you have a certain element of marketing, and everyone does, whether they know it or not, right? If I came to you and I asked you, Luke, can I possibly be on your podcast? And you go through my LinkedIn and it doesn't really resonate with your podcast business, that's bad marketing on my end, because now I'm asking you and it doesn't, resonate at all. So maybe it's bad marketing, some would call it, or our businesses or our companies or our values and our missions don't align.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from a sales marketing point of view, I think I've just learned that cohesiveness is everything, and working hand in hand to understand what a salesperson does on a daily basis, what a marketing function is on a daily basis. And then you kind of just think, this one needs to work for that one to push, and vice versa. So if
That's
I
very
don't see if I don't see KFC ads everywhere, I'm not gonna know that there's chicken wings available at KFC unless I go to KFC and ask the salesperson or the person behind the counter, what do you guys have available? So it just makes the salesperson's job a bit easier when I see all the steamy hot wings
Okay.
all around me. There's millions of emails that I get, millions of social media ads that's popping up from a marketing point of view. And then I'm just like to my family, let's just go buy this lovely wings. Makes the job easier for the cashier on the other side, because now I know exactly what I want. And again, that's a perfect example how marketing and sales will work hand in hand
awesome.
together.
That's
So
cool,
that's
man.
just my perception on it.
No, that's great. It's great to understand your understanding of marketing and sales. And so, I mean, we could absolutely continue doing that, but what I would
Sure.
love to hear more of is your venture called Sustainable Focus. And
Suitable.
Suitable Focus. Sorry,
good,
my bad.
All good.
But in that you do speak about sustainability. Yep. So maybe that's where I got it mixed up. So Suitable Focus. Maybe tell us your thinking and your a little bit of your process going up to that, and why, what is it about Suitable Focus that you made you just want to do that?
Sure. Okay, so kicking it back and just deriving from the organization now, I've always known that, there's a passion for entrepreneurship, and for myself. And my passion always also derived from just helping people, and just making sure people are in top form, if I can say. And always
what
getting
what do you
they
mean
need.
by in top form, like top performers, or are you talking?
No, just like they have everything they need in that moment. Okay. Whether it is assistance, whether it is guidance, whether it is just a knowledge break from someone that's more experienced in the field. I always felt that I needed to make sure that there's a level of that for those around me, because that's always what I've got, and receive from those around me. So Suitable Focus started, like I mentioned, almost 3 years back now. And I just wanted to offer small businesses and individuals the platform from a business consulting and business guidance point of view, just that knowledge barrier that some people don't really understand that they need, and I say when I say I'm referring to Suitable Focus. As I mentioned, there's a lovely team behind it, so I'm not taking credit at all. So Suitable Focus is just basically that, it's a organization or a business that focuses on small businesses and individuals looking to grow their brand. And why it's split up into 2 tiers is basically because, as we're seeing, there's a lot of individuals that are pushing their own things at the moment, whether it's podcasts, whether it's YouTube. The media industry is crazy. DJs, singers, everything. And South Africa has beautiful talent, at the moment. There's this thing of influencers now as well. A lot of influencers have popped up and are doing amazing work with brilliant brands from all over the world. But we don't see that too often. We don't see that change of, okay, this is my passion, but how do I turn this into a business? You know, how do
Okay.
you you maintain your passion and keep it a passion, but also make this a not a side hustle, not a second job, not a how do you make it your mainstream of income, you know?
Okay.
And that's what we dive into from an individual perspective and aspect.
And is that a process per person, or do you have a framework that you've developed and that you follow?
Sure. So for the individuals, there's definitely I would say it's a mixture of both, right? You can't treat every person the same as you can't treat every company the same,
Yeah.
right? So for the individual aspect of what Suitable Focus focuses on, it's a mixture of just understanding where they're at, and also understanding what type of character do they have. Because when you start deep diving into it, the individual starts deep diving into it,
Yeah,
right?
completely.
The individual then starts getting to think like, okay, I actually didn't know I needed to have a 2-year plan for influencer work. I thought you just do things on the fly. You know, I thought we just get gigs and Bob's your uncle type of thing. But you actually need to, like a business, run it like a business. Because when things dry up, you know what's going to happen. Is all your 500K followers just going to support you and donate 5 Rand each? That's not the world we live in, you know? So how do you
Yeah.
sustain yourself and make sure that you as a person, do you have that type of character? Are you an introvert? Are you extrovert? Would you do live events? Would you do hosting? Would you do, you know, those types of things? So it's understanding the individual from that perspective. And then also from a business perspective, understanding what the potential is within that market. And once you
Okay.
dumb down those figures for yourself, you then look at different opportunities. You then look at maybe opportunities you wouldn't have thought of if you didn't deep dive into your actual concept. And that works across the board, right? That works with footballers. Like I said, I wanted to be a footballer, so I know a lot of footballers that have made it on a professional level and still play today. And some of them have fallen off because, you know, contracts just expire, and this is now all your hope and all your
Yeah.
gauge on what you want to do. And now
Yeah.
you don't have anything, you know? And just again, turning that passion into how you can sustain yourself. And I'm sure a lot of viewers and yourself, Luke, you know Ronaldo and Messi, the biggest names in sport. Their main source of income is not from football. It's from everything else they do. You know, so why can't our South African athletes, you know, tap into that as well? And that's what Suitable focuses on from an individual perspective. And then, like I said, the SME business perspective, that's taking them through the incubation phase of, I have all these ideas, Suitable Focus. How do we conceptualize? How do we just narrow it down to at least 5? From my 1,000, how do I put it down to 5? And it's kind of the same approach, right? It's understanding the characters behind the business. So if there's about 5, 6 board members or 2 or 3, it's understanding their characters, how much work they would do on all 1,000 ideas, or can they actually only focus on the 5?
Yeah.
And with the 5, we then dumb it down to 3 or 2. And eventually you get to a stage where, you know what, I actually want to focus on this. And then eventually grow with that other idea that I had.
Yeah.
And, you know, start formulating every other idea. So it's
That's
from
awesome.
incubation stage up until, you know, growth and advanced for the SMEs.
Okay.
And that's basically how it works.
So are you serving a particular niche, or are you serving just whoever and whatever comes your way?
No, to the latter, not at all.
Okay.
I think I've learned in the corporate phase of my life that you cannot be a headless chicken, if I can say it nicely, and run all over the place, because if you do, you'll run out of steam, right? You'll run out of ideas and all of those things. So within the SME market and the small business consulting, we focus on marketing businesses. So people who are running digital marketing agencies, branding agencies, all of those things. Events, the events business, There's been quite a boost of that over the last 2 years, as you can expect.
From
Just after COVID.
Yeah. I know the
100%.
Durban entertainment industry had been absolutely brutalized. It was
Yeah,
awful. I've been involved in that space
crazy.
too. So
Was crazy. So that's booming now again. A lot of small businesses are looking to do mini events, even market days and all of those things, just to bring communities together. So there's that niche, events planning. We also focus on NGOs, just based on my personal experience of running an NGO. So that's a niche that we focus on, and then also hospitality. A few of the team members have quite extensive knowledge and degrees and all of those things within hospitality. So Airbnbs, guest houses, lodges, all of those things. So those are the four niches at the moment, that firstly we have experience in, which is the most important. And secondly, we can build a structure around it, within those four niches for SMEs. From an
it's very
individual
interesting.
perspective, from an individual perspective, it's just not a headless chicken approach, because it's suiting different people at different times. Ultimately, everyone as an individual, they're all trying to change their purpose into a business, but still keep that purpose with him. So it's kind of the same template, just
Okay.
differentiating it with the person that we're speaking to, and that we're having the courses with, and running those services with.
Okay.
So that can branch out to athletes, as I mentioned, to influencers, people in the media industry. It doesn't get coated with the same paintbrush, but we kind of use the same type of approach, where we use the mixture of your business, your passion, and then the individual. Who are you at the end of the day?
Okay. That sounds amazing. It really does.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
so if someone was keen to jump in and say, hey, I'm really interested in this kind of thing, would you,
Sure.
what's the process on that? How do you bring people on board? What do you look for in a customer? And I know we're talking like customer side now, and we'll get into the bit of the business of it, but
Yeah.
I think it segues into that. So
Yeah. Sure.
what is your guys' approach on that?
Sure. So the team takes a very, I think, organic approach, similar to this podcast, which I love so much. Just a very organic and interpersonal, like a very personal approach as well. Personal in terms of business, or in terms of just the individual we're dealing with. The customer, the ideal customer would be, just someone who's also pushing as much as they're saying. Because what you find sometimes is there's a lot of people that say, I do X, Y, and Z, and I push really hard on X, Y, and Z, and they come into the program, for example, and you don't allocate even 2 hours to an 8 hour program. So are you really wanting to push? Are you really at that peak of pushing? Because at the end of the day, you pay us for your service, or you pay us for our service. You're going to use that payment as an excuse to say, well, I'm not getting anything out of it, where
Yeah.
ultimately it's down to you. We're just giving you the guidelines. It's like school, right? You can only be as good as your final marks. You can't be as good as your friends and everyone else. um, your parents pay every month, and you need to perform based on that. So the ideal customer is not really someone that we say, okay, cool, it needs to have that, that, and that. I think the three things would be drive, passion, and determination.
Okay.
That would classify you as an ideal customer from an individual and SME point of view. We obviously
Okay.
dive a bit deeper into the SME stuff, where you need to reach a certain amount for 6 months. You need to be making some sort of money, those types of things. Because obviously, like I said, it's evaluation. So from an incubation phase to a growth phase, there needs to be some sort of movement. And if you a very, very new business, we take you from that incubation phase to a growth phase type of movement as well. And then advanced phase, which everyone wants to be at.
Yes. So is this?
Yeah.
So am I correct in saying, from what I'm picking up, is you guys do a lot of coaching and walking alongside with these people in both their personal and their development, their business development?
Yes. Once they're in, it's kind of getting to know the team from an SME and small business point of view. Getting to know the team, understanding the team from a full scope. I don't think you can do any work if you don't understand the people that are actually doing the work. That's my belief. And once we almost spend like a week or two just understanding the individuals within the organization and making sure that they understand one another, because ultimately they're all working to the same goal, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very coachy type of approach, but it's not coachy at all. You're basically given templates that you run with. We don't tell you from our point of view, Luke, why don't you position your podcast like this? It's not our vision. It's not our dream. It's your vision. It's your dream. We're just telling you, okay, maybe you need to now incorporate compliance into your business. You're making X amount a month. Have you looked at an accountant? Cool. We have some accountants specifically focused on small businesses. And it's not going to be an arm and a leg. It's going to be what you can afford based on what you're making, And what that helps with is SARS. It helps with your tax compliance. It helps with your CIPC registration that you need to pay every month. Just those small things you kind of tend to forget as you're focusing on a goal as a small business. And then also things like law. That this is a very touchy subject. I probably have most of the time with the businesses that we come across. And law is kind of suitable folk. Why would you push law down our throats? It's not pushing anything down the throat again. It's more of understanding that it's out there for us to access, for small businesses to access and make use of. Because again, from a compliance and safety point of view, we need to have all our ducks in a row, as a small business. Whether you're an individual or a small, just make sure all your ducks are in a row. Whether you have 2 Rand coming in or 20,000 Rand coming in every month. And what that helps with is just knowing your business, knowing where you want to be and how you want to push it. And also knowing that you have a backing from a safety, compliance, and governance point of view. Again, which we give access to, and we kind of connect those dots and make sure that if you need this within your phase of where you are, not necessarily growth, but as you almost jumping up to, not necessarily incubation, but as you grow, you're jumping up to the growth stage. That's kind of when you want to see that peak of accounting firms and law firms coming up with you as well.
Okay. So what would you? So I'm interrupting.
No.
How would let's make an example. We've got a startup.
Cool. Go ahead.
And what kind of compliance and needs in that space would you maybe recommend guys who are starting up? They're 2 years old, maybe 3 years old, maybe off the top of your head or off the cuff. What are the three things that you think people need to look out for or be aware of?
Cool. So I won't contradict myself at all. Like I mentioned, it's down to the people and the persons within the organization, within the business, whatever they're running. If it is, for example, people that are motivated, determined, and consistent in what they do, these are basically the things we run through, and I might go over 3. But it's, are you pushing this in terms of hours? How many hours do you spend on it a month as a team, as a collective, or as an individual? How much time do you spend on this a month? That then determines how much effort you'll put in. And time means everything. Time is, and look, we had this discussion offline. Time is that balance. If you find sometimes you're not balancing with your family or with your friends or social life or all of these things. You tend to leave a side hustle, and you push it to the side because okay, now I'm lacking in other areas. So time is the most important. I think how much time do you spend on your business? Secondly, would be what are your ideas and concept on moving these businesses forward or this business idea forward? Are you just coming to Suitable Focus to give you that rhythm and that rule? Because again, it's your baby, it's your dream. You cannot expect another business to tell you how to run your own. So what is the concept behind and where do you want to be in the next month? Not in the next 5 years. You're a startup, you're growing, you're trying to find yourself and find your team and all of those things. But what are you looking to achieve in the next month? Is it maybe 10 followers on social media? Is that like a hoorah and hoop-de hoop for you? Or is it an actual 1,000 rand client coming in? Is that a hoorah, like a hoorah and a hoop-de hoop? So it's just understanding that from a strategy point of view. And then again, just making sure everyone in your team, whether you one-man team, if you are a one-man team, you need to be split up into different departments. So technically you have your full team around you. Or do you have 3 people, including yourself that you can depend on? And how does that all come together? Then we look at what's their time like. Do you guys have sessions like together, meetings together on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis? And what do those meetings and sessions look like? Is it more activity based? Is it what you want to achieve? Or is it actually what you're going to achieve within the next month? Is it just picking out things from the sky? Or are you actually talking to the right people at different networking events and this and that and bringing it to the table when you guys meet up? So I would say those are basically the understanding points. Because before you can action anything, you need to understand where you are at. And then that also means from a startup or a small business point of view, you need to explain to us as Suitable Focus what you actually want to put in. So we can then set out the guidelines and help you understand based on your dreams and your goals. This is what we can provide.
So do you find that startups, and I mean, I'm learning this firsthand. I was actually thinking about it this week or the last 2 weeks and thinking it's really hard for a startup to, in my experience, to have these 2 to 3 year projection goals that you want.
Yeah.
When you're actually not even quite sure of who you are and what you bring to the table entirely. Because what you think you bring to the table and what you do bring to the table could be different things for various reasons. Maybe it's not 100%. Your personality. Maybe you haven't got the systems in place. So have you found that startups have spent a lot of time and energy focused on a distant goal at the expense of actually discovering themselves now? Maybe talk us a little bit through that.
Sure. That's a very, very good question. And very good statement as well. You can change that into a statement as well, I think we and myself included, we have these ideas of when you become an entrepreneur, whatever it is, 2 years time I'm gonna be a millionaire, I'll have this car, my business will be as big as the Vodacom building in Johannesburg, blah blah blah, those types of things. But that's exactly what you're saying and exactly what we focus on, like the example I just made. How many hours are you actually putting in to make this as successful as you're envisioning it, right? And also, what is the strategic plans that you have for the next day, next week, next month, next 2 months, next 3 months? Before we can look at the 5, 6, 7 year goal, do you even have a team in place for 5, 6, 7 years? Because what we tend to do is we tend to think about the 5, 7, 6, 8, 9, 10 year goal, but you don't know that you need a CMO. You maybe need a VP of sales by that time. Have you thought about operations? Have you thought about a HR lady or guy that can come in? Because that needs to be sustained as you grow, as you get to where you need to get to. So if you not thinking about that in that sense, then as you mentioned, just bring it back home and just understand where you want to be in this moment. And in this moment can be in the short term. Is it earning, if it's a retail business, if it's, selling clothes and selling candles and all of those things, is it earning a profit? Not a takeout, not an actual every month, but a profit of 10,000 a month. Is that when you consider doing the next step of, okay, now I can look at my 3-month goal? Because now I know I'm bringing in consistently a 10,000 Rand profit. That's after paying your Zoom app. That's after paying WhatsApp business. That's after doing all of those things. Yeah. Now I'm at the 10,000 peak. So technically by my 3rd month, I should be making I should have 30,000 Rand profit within my business. Now I can start thinking ahead. So now I can be like, okay, cool. Now I can make a 6-month plan because I know what's going to be happening consistently month to month because I've thought about that process and I've focused on that process, right? So after 6 months, I can now consider, looking for someone to assist me in sales if you're running all your sales or if there's only 3 people in at the moment, because now you have a buffer that you can pay a salesperson and make more money. How do you capitalize on that to now start thinking about the 2-year goal? So it's just increments and small focuses. Yes, 100%. We can have our full focus on a nice billboard somewhere in our room or in the lounge. No one's taking that away.
Make your own billboard.
100%, 100%. No one's taking that away. But in order to get there, and this is what suitable focus is all about, is just understanding those small increments of how you can get there for yourself and your own capabilities within the team. We get a lot of people that come in with their friends, and it's funny because I've been in it as well. But you come in with your friends and we're gonna start this business. 2 sessions in, the one says, "Oh, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know we're going that direction. I didn't," and you see a confusion of guidance and where you want to be. So technically, Luke's 5-year goal wasn't the same as Dylan's 5-year goal, and that's a mistake already. So that's why we say let's make it a 1-month goal where we both can agree on, or all 3 of us can agree on, and we move forward from there.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really, that's so helpful, man. That's really, really good. So, what I've picked up from that, what I've picked up for that for myself, and maybe other viewers have too, that we set these goals, but we have to do it in a staged approach. So we have a 6-month goal, which may not necessarily take 6 months to get there, but we want to create the environment where we can then say, okay, now in 6 months' time, I want to reach this. So it's less about chasing the goal itself, the destination, and more about creating pockets of environments where we can then say, let's go for the next goal.
100%. And what that does awesome. What that does when you segment things, and you can tell in our personal lives as well, when you segment things and focus on certain things, you kind of get prepared and you make yourself ready for it, right? A goal like, or for example, you're going out to a birthday party next week. You have a full week to prepare, so you can go cut your hair, you can go buy you some clothes, you can actually get ready for that event. And it's the same thing in business. You make sure that whatever your 6 month, 3 month, 1 week goal is, you can get yourself ready or get your team ready with you to get to that stage. And like you say, what happens 90% of the time when you have that 3 month goal, you finish it in 2 months. And what that means is you get more motivated, you become more attached to your baby, and you start pushing it and you start growing it.
That's awesome.
So it's really good to segment what you want to achieve,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So speaking about goals and going after some things, I guess this is where we can just briefly touch on the other part of what you've spoken to me about in our meeting beforehand, and even now, is the determination and the disciplines, specific section of this. So you've got your goals, you've got your dreams that you want to go after. Now talk to us a little bit about your approach on determination and discipline.
Sure. So this is from a customer client point of view. Is that what you're saying, or me personally?
Or maybe for you and your approach on it, because inevitably that would roll out into the way that you impart that and help people along in their process.
100%. So for myself personally, I think it's just a lot of knowing what you want, right? And I'll probably reiterate this a lot, but knowing exactly what you want. Because once you know the man in the mirror, as they say, you kind of know where the dark spots are, you know where your lips are, you know certain things about yourself. And I think that's when determination plays a role in what I do. So as I mentioned, I'm balancing quite a few things at the moment, because I'm so determined, and I've reached certain small goals that I can now look at the bigger picture, and my bigger picture at this moment is a 6 month goal, eventually my bigger picture would be a 2 year goal. But from a determination point of view, I'm determined to find a balance that's fit for myself, a balance to spend enough time with my family, that I don't neglect my kids and my wife and my mom and my dad and my sister and my in-laws and all of those things. A balance and determination where I can also have a social life. Because again, I'm 28 years old and I don't want to miss out. I hear my friends and family say all the time, you're only young for so long,
Yeah.
You're only this age for so long. So the determination to understand that I also need a life outside of everything I do. And outside of everyone I want to be with and want to love and show appreciation to. There's the determination and just courage of making sure that I can balance equally and pay attention and just give my motivation to my day job, which is Redstor. Focus, hone myself in and do the best that I can. But also, when I'm done with Redstor, do the same for Suitable Focus. So that determination of just making sure that I'm giving an equal amount to all of those facets. And obviously there's a bit more. I love watching football and sport, so I need to make time for that as well. Just understanding that I need to be as determined as possible to try to find a balance that's right for me. And I'm not talking 25%, 25%. I'm talking about a balance that is actually fit for my lifestyle and my 6 month goal at this point in time. So that's kind of where it resides from and where it comes from. So when we speak about determination, courage, discipline, all of those things, it needs to be a flat layer of all the concepts that I'm working on to balance my life, how I fit it, and how I feel it needs to be balanced. And then also learning from so many new people, so many people in my team. Like I say, this is my perspective, but when I go have a session with the Suitable Focus team on a Wednesday night, they then share their experiences, their values, all of their things, and we kind of put that together and be like, okay, cool. So maybe it can all cohesively come together when we speak to XY business that approached us last week. because now we're resonating. We have the same type of approach. We have a similar feel and way forward. So, okay, cool. You lead that meeting because you have more experience in that way. So
That's
it's
awesome.
always about that cohesiveness and the discipline to want more. I think that's also very important. The discipline to not be too comfortable with where you're at, because when we get comfortable, it just seems okay. Things just seem fine. We stop with that 6 month goal. We now make it I'll get there in 2 years. Don't worry. I'll get there in 3 years. You start losing that drive and that determination, the courage, the passion, all those values and that models. And you just start becoming not complacent, but just comfortable. Right.
Yeah.
So, long story to your answer, to your question.
No,
Sorry,
that's
but
good.
it's just rounding it up and understanding what's important to me as an individual. And as I mentioned, that's what I do, or that's what we do in Suitable Focus. We just make sure that the individuals, whether you are a person that's building your own brand or an SME with multiple individuals in it, we make sure that the
Yeah.
individuals understand their purpose. And once you understand your purpose, you can then allocate time towards those purposes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where you can grow certain things.
Yeah. It's that whole Simon Sinek approach of discover your why, and everything
100%.
comes out from there. So whatever you do outside of that why, or whatever you do, will always be informed by your purpose, or should be
100%.
actually. Not necessarily always is, and
Yeah.
to align what you do with your purpose and discovering that is such a powerful, absolutely powerful tool. And I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in the lives of my clients. And
Yep.
so, yeah, that's awesome, Brew. That's
Having
really,
that-
really cool.
Having that way forward. No, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Luke.
No, that's awesome. Brew, you know what I love? I love that you... I love that you're there to help the human behind building their thing, that you're not there
100%.
to plug in as a service provider and just eat off the profits of a business, but that you're there to help the human. And because it's the humans that need help. And if you can help,
Exactly.
and I want to encourage you, Bro, and just say, bro, if you can continue to help the human behind the humans behind these businesses, and just develop those relationships and just be the human support, the support to the hero in that story.
Yep.
Like, I think you're gonna go to the moon, bro.
Thank you so much.
I've absolutely loved
Thank you.
hearing about Suitable Focus, and
Thank you.
I really absolutely love what you guys are on about, and I think you're onto something here, bro. So
Thank you so much, Luke.
I think just to honor time for your time and for the listeners, there's two things I want to do. One thing which I haven't done yet before, so you're the guinea pig. And the second thing is what have asked a few guests to do is, do you have one word or thing of encouragement for the small businesses in Durban that you would like to say? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Okay, before I said I can't wait to meet you all. I promised Luke a visit, so I hope to meet some of the Durbanites soon. But definitely, my key word and just from myself or keywords is just keep going. Whoever you pray to, believe in, your support system around you, keep them around, because we can't do this alone. No one can do anything alone. Elon Musk hasn't gotten to an Elon Musk status by doing it alone. He has a team, he has a support system, and he just has some sort of faith, spiritual faith, whatever it is. So just make sure you have the right crew and team behind you, whether it be just one person or a couple of people. Because on those days of you not getting it, on those months where things are just crazy and load shedding is now 52 hours out of a week.
24 hours.
I've added in 52. You need to find that strength to keep going. As entrepreneurs within South Africa and Africa as a whole, it's quite tough just to keep that momentum. So yeah, just my words of encouragement: keep that faith, keep your prayers up, and just keep people close to you, and that determination, courage, passion, it all flows because you know what you want to achieve.
Come on, bro. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's awesome. I hope
not a problem.
All you listeners and you viewers heard that. And it'll be really cool to have you in Durban one day. And
soon.
Let's see if we can make that happen. 100%. So my last thing before we wrap up, I saw on your LinkedIn you shared a post from Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. I love his podcast. So I haven't done this before, but I have gone ahead and I don't know if my camera's going to focus here.
Oh, the Diary of a CEO conversation.
Yeah, I've got these.
Lovely.
And this is something I've been wanting to introduce into the podcast.
Brilliant.
I'm still trying to figure that out, but I'm going to draw a random card from this pile and ask you that question, and then maybe you can answer that for us. So I haven't prepared 100%. Anything. I'm literally just...
This is brilliant. I'm smiling from ear to ear. It's my favorite guy.
Come on, bro.
These things, this is cool.
Okay. So we've got one question. Wow. Okay. So let's try to get this in focus. What are you clear about, unlike this focus? Yeah, what are you clear about that you now... Okay, let me just read it like this. What are you clear about now that 1 year you didn't know?
Ooh.
1 year ago. Yeah.
Ooh. I'm clear that things are possible.
Okay.
Things are damn possible. Like, there's no limitation. It's all about those things, just the motivational speech, the small motivational speech I did now. It's just making sure you have that faith, that guidance, that prayer, that people around you, because we cannot do this alone. And I think I realized that in a large extent last year or this year, that it can be done. It's possible.
That's awesome.
100%.
Come on. Well, Dylan Cairns, bro, it's been absolutely amazing to hear your journey and what value you are bringing to this world. And I want to thank you for your time. And to all our listeners, I want to thank you for your time. And go give this man a big follow. I'll put all his contact details in the description below. And go give him all the love in the world. And give him a nice big Durban love. And thank you for your time, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Luke, just from my side, thank you so much and for everything you're doing. I think you speak about Stephen Bartlett, but we have our own Luke Holden in South Africa and Africa. So
come on, bro.
Please just keep doing what you're doing. It's motivating even me. Like I said, I've been stalking you for a couple of weeks and I couldn't wait to just be in contact with you, let alone be on your actual podcast. So keep doing what you're doing and keep motivating and giving the people a platform to share their stories, because it does inspire more people than you know. So thank you for
awesome.
you. Really looking to meet you face to face, and hopefully there's a part 2 loading.
Yeah. Well, bro, thank you.
Looking forward to it.
And Durban,
thanks so much.
Peace out. Big love
Durban,
to you all.
Peace out.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.